Hi, this is Dave Bricker, and this is a quick lesson on building websites with CSS. Here I have a diagram representing my page. This outer box is the body of the page. The page contains a container, and the container contains several page divisions, or divs. We've got the header, which is 945 by 160, the navbar, the page itself, and the footer. And you can see that I've planned in advance all of my pieces, and I've named my page divisions, and I've made myself a quick sketch. And the idea is just that it's to plan ahead so that I can build to a particular formula. To go with this, I have a series of images here, and I'm just going to open up those images and show you what they are. They're already made. And here's my background image. It's a big image. It's going to be a background for the entire page. It's about 2800 pixels wide, which should take care of most large monitors. I've got a small image of driftwood, and I've got a picture of a watch, just some random shots that I will put in my page. And then I've got my header graphic and my footer graphic, and they are already pre-done and pre-sized to the sizes that I had spec'd out in my diagram. So here's my ingredients. They're in the site folder inside the images folder. I'm going to close them up for now. Now, what I can do now is I need to make my page in Dreamweaver, and the first thing I want to do is start with my page divisions. I'm going to create a new page in Dreamweaver, an HTML page, and as is traditional, I'm going to save that page as index.html in the site folder. Let's wait for my save dialog to come up. Getting my spinning beach ball here. Here we go. And I have that, happen to have this here in the CSS tutorial. And here is my site folder. So I'm going to call this page index.html. I'm going to save it next to the images folder, and then I'm going to need a second page, which is going to be a CSS document. I'm going to keep all my styles there. Notice that I choose CSS. I'm going to create the page, and I'm going to save as styles.css. I'm going to save it right next to my index page. Now, what I can do here is link these two together. Now, if I go to, let's get to my palettes here. I'm going to open this up so you can see it. And I've got the little chain here. And what I want to do is click this, browse for my style sheet. It's in the site folder, and here it is, styles.css. And I'm going to link these together. In other words, any CSS rules that I create are going to get written in that sheet. If I want, I can even close up this styles document because it's easy for me to toggle between the two of them here because they're now linked together. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in my title and make this my home page and hit save. Now, the first rule I want to have for my CSS is for the body tag, and the body is going to define the margins of the page. It's also going to define the background image of the page. So I'm going to go ahead and click this new CSS rule icon, and in this case, body is a tag, and you can see this comes up by default. It says choose where the rule will be defined. Here in styles.css, I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to choose my background image. And let's go here in the images folder and make this a little bigger. Here is the background. I do not want the background to repeat, so I'm going to choose no repeat. I'm going to say that I want this to be fixed. And that's that. There's the background. I'm going to hit OK. And you can see off on the right in my split view that the background is there on the page. And that's all well and good. The other thing I want to do is just click on the text. And of course, it's not allowing me to do that. Let's go to Styles and save this. and that's all fine. Let's now make our page divisions in the code here. And the first thing I'm going to do is hit Insert, Layout Objects, Div Tag. And a div tag is just for a page division. And I'm going to call this container. The container, actually I wrote it in the wrong place. It's not the class, it's the ID. Divisions have names or ID tags. And I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Now, you can see that it wrote the div tag on the page. Here's where a lot of people mess things up. You need to understand that cascading style sheets, CSS, are going to cascade through a series of different divisions. So here's my container. What I'm going to do is put my next division right in here. So the container is inside the body, which is the whole page. Inside the container, we have the header. And let's hit OK. And then I'm going to just duplicate this for the sake of speed. Copy, paste, paste, paste. And I've got the header, the navbar, I have the page, and I have the footer. These are the four main sections of my page. And I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And if I show this page, I'll go ahead and use Firefox here. If I bring this page up, you'll see my background is here. Let me go ahead and size this to fit our video. So my window is there. Here we go. It's running a little slow because I've got the video capture going. But here is my browser, and you can see I don't have much going on here. What we need to do is define some rules for these different pieces. So let's go back to here to our ID, and what we need now to do is to make some new rules. First, let's define the container. I'm going to click the little plus sign here on the right for new CSS rule, and what I want to do here is I want to create one for the container. And you'll notice that div IDs all are referred to with a hashtag, with a pound sign. And we'll get into the other types of things, classes and tags afterwards, but we want the rule to be defined in styles.css. And what I'm going to do here is go to the box. And first thing I want is 15 pixels of padding. Padding is an inside margin. I want everything to be 15 pixels away from the sides of my container box. My margin on top, I want the container to be 30 pixels from the top of the page, and I'm going to write auto on the right and auto on the left, which means those are going to be automatic. My width is going to be 975. And then my background, I'm going to make the color white. When I hit OK, let me save that, and you can see that in Styles CSS, here now I've got my rules for my body, which contains the background image and the instructions for displaying it. And then I've got all of these other things that pertain to the container. Let me save the styles, and let's preview this again. And you can't see too well probably on the screen, but there is a white box here. What I think I'm going to do to make it a little bit more clear is I'm going to edit that rule, and if I click under Styles All, here's Container, and if I double click it, I can get this. Let's go to the border, and what I'm going to do is choose a solid 1 pixel line that is medium gray. I'm going to hit OK and save this, and let's preview this new one again. And now you can see that my box is there. So there's the container. Notice that my divs inside it are all 15 pixels from the edge. And we're going to add some transparency and such to that box later on, but this is our good start. Now, let's go back into our source code and let's do the header graphic. I'm going to take out this dummy text. I'll actually do that for all of them now that that has filled its purpose. That's just something that Dreamweaver puts in for you. And what I want to do, let's save this. Let us create a new rule. And what I want to do here is this is for my header. Let's hit OK. And I don't need to do too much here. I'm going to go to my background. I'm going to choose that background image, which is header.jpg, and I'm going to let that background image, if I go to define the box, we know it has to be 160 pixels high, and I'm going to hit apply, OK. Let's see if I go to split view, and you can see that that header is starting to appear on the screen. Let me do this kind of thing. Okay, so you can see there's the header. The other ones are not revealed yet. And you can also see that my graphic was 945 and this background image is starting to repeat. So we're going to solve that problem by looking at the measurements. And I think what we need to do is change, instead of 975, I think our container needs to be 945. I believe there's a mistake in the spec, and if we refresh this, that solves the problem right there. So I click the refresh button. Now we're ready to go. Underneath the container, we need the navbar and the other divs. Let's create a container for the navbar next. I'm going to create a new rule. It's going to be for pound navbar, and we're going to say this is for an ID. In the styles CSS, let's hit OK. And all I'm going to do for the navbar is I'm going to make the background image, background color dark gray, and when I go to box, I'm going to make this 25 pixels high and hit apply, and there it is. Let's go to 28 pixels high. Good. That's going to carry us through for that one. Next is going to be the page div. Same process. Let's go ahead and create a new ID. This one's going to be for page. And if you forget to write the hashtag, as long as you specify an ID, it'll write that # for you. I'm going to hit OK. And all I need to do here is pretty much leave it alone because it's going to be filled with content. It doesn't need a separate background color. So there's an ID there if I need it, but I'm not even going to bother to define any attributes for it. If you want, you can put your dummy content in there, and I'll refresh that and you can see it. Underneath the page content is going to be the footer content. Let's save this. Let's save this. And we'll do the same thing. We're going to create a new one for the footer. It's going to be very similar. This is an ID. This is for footer. Let's hit OK. Let's go to the background. Let's choose the footer. And I believe my spec was 140 pixels high. Let's go to the box and say 140. It might be 120. We're going to see in a second if it repeats. If I hit apply, okay, here's save, and why am I not getting, here's my footer, and it is a little bit high, and I can either adjust that in the rule, or I can actually just say, let's make this 120. Save, refresh. There's my header and my footer. All I have to do is put my content on the page. So I've got a page. It's not a very pretty page, but it's a page, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 separate page divisions in it, and most of them I don't really need to touch anymore.